Hello everyone, and welcome to PlumesCast. My name is Seth, aka PhantasmaPlumes, and I'm coming to you pre-recorded from the Observatarium. As always, I thank you for tuning in today. Alright, so before I really get started in here today, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for all the kind words you had to say about the IT podcast. Honestly, I knew that one I had a lot more energy for, just because it's something I'm passionate about, and I'm always excited to teach and to hopefully inspire you guys to maybe consider a different life path. Like, I'm not sure if it was really made apparent in the last podcast, so I do want to circle back a little bit to when I said I started off in IT. When I started going to college originally, I didn't have IT as a goal. I didn't even have IT on my radar. It was one of those things that when I got picked up by the IT manager to work in IT for Mercedes, I was like, okay, it's more money. I need more of that. I need more cash. Because I'm paying for my college at the same time as me trying to go to it, so I didn't have a bunch of student loans, which, I did okay. Like, real talk, I got out and I had like maybe $28,000 owed in student debt, and I'm paying that off, and it's just a fun-ass time. Ugh, but that's a whole, another conversation topic in itself. But anyway, I didn't have IT on the radar. In fact, I declared my original major to be international business, because I wanted to go into translation. I was all about, bridging the world through communication. But the thing that I started to notice is machine translations were starting to become popular. Google Translate was becoming something much more useful. It was actually getting things right at least half of the time. And sure, a mechanical translation versus a natural translation is always going to be a little rocky around the corners, but you could easily hire somebody to be like, okay, here's this rough machine translated thing. I want you to take it and make it proper English and make it sound good to a natural English, speaker. And it's just like, I was worried. I didn't want to go into a job field that was eventually going to be taken over by robots. So you know what I did? I joined the robots. If you can't beat them, join them. And I decided I'm going to figure out how these robots work, so that way when the robot uprising comes through, I at least have some clue of how to turn it all off. And, that's also why I say thank you to my smart devices every time they help me with something. Just because I want, and I'm cautious. I'm cautious about saying their wake-up terms, because I don't want them to talk in the middle of my one-shot podcast. But, I'm just want them to know I respect them for now. Like, when they're all coming through, it's just like, no. He said thank you often. But anyway, seriously, thank you again for making that podcast one of the best performing ones. It was a lot of fun, and, we're actually going to continue that conversation a fair bit today. Based on the requests of you guys, we were talking about EULAs and Eula, which, no, I'm not slurring over my words. We actually are talking end-user license agreements and Eula Genshin Impact. I might swap it around and actually cover Genshin Impact first and then do the IT stuff later on. So, I wish I could, edit this back and post and be like, alright, if you jump to 35 minutes, we start the IT conversation. But, I've been wanting to talk about Genshin Impact for a little while. I kind of gave y'all a brief introspective into how I felt about the game during the Gacha podcast, in which I was like, it's a game. It's not great. It's not terrible either, but I will say this, since my break actually a month back now, I started playing Genshin Impact again. I came back from my break about a month ago, but that's beside the point. I finally decided to give Genshin Impact another shot, and I changed servers, actually. I changed servers to the Asia server, which, hey, if any of y'all are playing on that and want to play, please let me know. I need more people to play with me on that, because right now I just have my my loving girlfriend and her friends, and they're not always available to carry me, and I just want to catch up so I can be with the cool kids. I don't want to be in Inazuma because, I got Hazel C2. I didn't get Kazuha, but I got Hazel, like, C2, and I can't level him up past 40, and my life is fucking misery. So, I have a long way to go to actually properly enjoy the game. And thankfully, I'm saying all this, my girlfriend, my muse, my sweet, sweet fox wife had actually gone through and played a considerable amount on my account already. She actually beat the Mondstadt chapter, the first chapter of the game. Like, I was, I think, one quest away from beating it, but she went ahead and caught it up and then was building my characters to a certain degree, and I was just like, I love this woman. She wants me to play with her, and I'm about playing with her. But it's like, I feel bad every time I go to play because I'm so low leveled. And it's just, and this actually is starting to bleed into how I truly feel about Genshin. But I feel so bad because as a quote unquote new player, you have so many hours of content that you have to go through in order to catch up to people. Like, Genshin is probably one of the worst games to get into now. Versus, say a Fate Grand Order, you can at least get into that. You don't need to be able, like, except for certain characters, you don't need to be in the Lost Belts, the, end chapters of the game in order to level up or rank up your characters. No, for Genshin, you might need to spend like 20, 30 hours if you have an Inazuma character like I do, and, just to get them past 40. And it's kind of stupid that there's no, this kind of blows my mind because they have traders in the game that have come across the different, countries or continents or whatever they want to call themselves. And, you have these NPCs that travel across. Like, I don't understand why in Liyue we don't have an Inazuma trader that you can spend, Mora to get rank up items. You can't buy them all straight out, but at least let me buy 5 a week. Something that at least could tide me over if I had one of these Inazuma characters, instead of saying, oh, well, you have this character, you can't use them past level 40. Fuck you. Oh, man, that was that was a whole on string. I just got started. Oh, man. No, I am having legitimate fun with Genshin, going back through it again. Right now, I'm kind of been on a little slump with it because I've been experimenting with different gacha games. But I do enjoy what it does well. It's when you're first exploring Teyvat for the first time, it feels really unique and interesting. You feel as though, you are the traveler in this instinct. You're going through a whole new world. But the things that, they don't do well really stands out. I hate the fact that it costs so much experience to level up. I think, as your levels go up, the experience drops should go up as well. I don't think I've met a single person who has ever grinded, the enemies, to get to a level up. It's always, you have to use the items. And it's I understand the whole point of a gacha game is to keep players playing for longer so that way they're tempted to buy your shit more often. I understand that 300%. You know how I understand that? I have 3 welcome moons activated on my account. I have, I think nowadays I have, maybe 65. But I have 65 days that I'm going to log into Genshin just for my, free 90 primos. Well, quote-unquote free 90 primos. Just because, it's easy that way. I can log in, if I feel like playing the game, I can do my dailies, and then I get my little measly rewards, and I carry on about my day. But, the thing about Genshin is it wants more time than that. As I was saying, if you're a new player, you have to spend so much time to catch up to your friends that, honestly, you're better off trying to convince them to play something else. And that's why I've been trying to convince Juju to play PSO2 on the Xbox and PC with me. And soon to be PlayStation. Dude, alright. real talk real quick. I'm going to break away from Genshin for a second and just talk about PSO2. I've talked so much about, how much it's impacted my career and my friends and all this. And I just really want to say, hey, if you want a really good MMORPG experience and you don't want to play, or you don't want to pay for Final Fantasy 15 online, bro, or is it 14? I don't know. But, bro, PSO2 NGS, it's not the greatest game. I can say that straight out. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. No, it's not the greatest game. There's a lot of issues with PSO2 still that they're trying to fix up. But the cool thing is it's an action RPG similar to Genshin Impact, where, you run around, you do your quest, you advance the story, so on and so forth. But it's space-themed. And it's like, it's kind of this healthy sci-fi blend of concepts. And the cool thing, like, even though the newest expansion, New Genesis, which is big enough to be its own game on its own, like, I understand why PSO2 NGS was built on top of based PSO2. Or base PSO2, not based. Even though really the base PSO2 is pretty fucking based. There are an entire, subsection of stories, an entire, episodes, that's what they call them, where you can go through the whole story of PSO2 or go into NGS with the same character. So say, for example, you don't like the playstyle of NGS, 100%, or you want to go grind out your character and get some weapons. Mind you, not everything can carry across from, base PSO2 to NGS, but you can go back to original PSO2 and play through that story. And that story is actually pretty fucking good. Personally, my favorite story is episode 4, because that's when, the characters start interacting with, real-ish environments. I don't want to say a whole bunch without spoiling anything. But, you get to take on, the Yamamoto battleship, piloted by a ghost captain, in the middle of the frozen tundra. That is a raid boss you get to do with people. And the music's fucking blaring. And then you get mechs, the AIS units, and you just fucking go berserk on this damn thing. It is cool as shit. I highly recommend it. But, I could gush about PSO2 another time. Regardless, I am hopefully going to be buying an Xbox One or Xbox Series S. By the time you guys are hearing this, I might be heading over to Target now to buy one, because I've been debating this for the longest time, and I think it's finally time to go and buy something, big and nice for Juju and I. The main reason being because we want to play, Game Pass games together, and some games you need to have, 2 different Xbox accounts in order for, the achievements and all. It really kind of pissed me off, because It Takes Two is one of those games where you need to have both people logged in order to play the game. But, all that said, I am so far off topic, but hey, really, does PlumesCast ever have a solid topic? Do I ever fully stay on a single thing for the entirety of podcasts? I don't think so. But that's just me, and this is my show. Hi, I'm Seth, welcome. As you can tell, I've actually had a really good day prior to recording. This is the first day that I have had off from everything, both for a reason and for not, because, and I'll cover this more in the IT section of all this, but we had an emergency at work, and now I'm kind of just on server monitoring mode. It's long story. But like I said, I will cover that more in the IT section of things. But because of that, I kind of needed to stay close-ish to home. I drove Juju off to work, which, by the way, honey, you did amazing. I love you. But I drove her off to work, and then I circled back to go to the grocery store real quick to get some stuff for some cucumber sandwiches, which, honestly, if you guys have not had these, it's a recipe on TikTok, and I think you can look it up by just, looking up cucumber sandwiches. But it's toast, it's Greek yogurt, it's cream cheese, It's fresh dill and, like, a sliced cucumber. This thing surprisingly goes hard. You know? Like, the first bite, you're like, it's okay. It's goodish, I guess. But then you start craving it. And I swear there's something in those, like, ingredients that just make you addicted to them. Almost to something like soda or something. But it's really good, and I went to get stuff like that. Also, I needed to replace the milk that I had, or that I used to cook, and the, iced coffee that we like to drink. I was like, alright, let me just, cover my ass out. I know I need to buy more. But anyway, when I was looking at my emails, I saw that we had an alert from the server, so I'm like, alright, let me just drop off the rest of everything else I was going to do, and I'm just going to hang out at home. And in that, I was able to hang out with a couple of friends that I haven't been able to hang out with in a long-ass time. So, Yuma, Niji, KO, Richard, and the good old Mr. Beaches himself, Marcus. Thank you so much for playing with me. God. I'm honestly surprised how fun Fall Guys can be. And then, to go into TMNT with randos, just randomly jumping in and out. It was a lot of fun, and I'm feeling the positive vibes, so I'm hoping to send them across the airwaves to you on whatever platform you're listening to this. I hope you're having a good day, dear listener. But anyway, so bring all this back. Let's spin my 360-degree brain back to what I was talking about. Back to Genshin. I want to like Genshin. I really do. Like, there are certain times where, like, I was exploring Dragonspine, which is the ice mountain of the game, and I was having a lot of fun. Like, I called up a buddy of mine who's basically, like, super into this. Well, y'all know Adam. I called up Adam, and I'm like, Adam, this is bad. I'm having fun on Genshin Impact. And he's like, oh, no, man. Because he plays Genshin a lot. But I've always kind of given him shit about it because, to me, it's a full game in itself. Like, I hope at the end of Genshin's run, we get a physical copy of the game. Just something that's the entirety of the game. Because when the servers finally go down for that, that's it. That's said and done. But I want something that's like, okay, the gacha elements are somewhat removed. Or like, as you progress through the story, you get these different characters. Or, do it like Xenoblade, where, you have the core crystals that let you summon your blades. I want you to, like, be able to find these items after fights or whatever, and, be able to summon off of that. Like, reduce how much the gacha element is in the game, and make it a little more in-game currency, and I think it would work really well as a hardware, or, like, as a standalone title. But anyway, that's whole other conversation. All in all, like, I want to like Genshin. I think it's a good game, but I hate how hard you have to work in order to catch up to people. If that wasn't obvious, that is my biggest complaint with the game. I also hate the lack of multiplayer. Because Genshin on itself is fun, but it's better when you have, like, a group of friends playing together. But the drawback of it is if one person isn't on the same world level as everybody else, it makes grinding pointless. You can help your friend, which is great, but you're not going to be pulling anything back out of it yourself. You're not really getting anything out of the experience. Like, the only thing that makes multiplayer worth doing it as, like, a higher level to a lower level, like, for Juju to help me out, is she gets to get, my world's resources. The things that take a week to respawn. Like, I'm completely fine with her having that, because she'll go off to another side of the map and grab her stuff while I'm running around doing my thing, and, we'll converge and do something for a little while, and then she'll head off, so that way I can do the next story portion, so on and so forth. But, it doesn't feel good. It's not like, when you're playing an MMO with somebody else and you're actually gaining, like, drops, you're gaining loot. Like, Monster Hunter has done this fantastically, where it doesn't matter if you are Monster Rank 1, or Hunter Rank 1, or Hunter Rank 999. You will get something from that monster that you may need, to craft your next weapon. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, you're never going to be able to catch up, or you're not going to be able to get anything worthwhile for playing with your friends in this multiplayer MMORPG. Like, to be fair, I don't know if Genshin would be considered an MMO. It has those MMO qualities, but it's done in such like a blah way. And that's my like number one complaint with Mihoyo overall, is they don't understand how to do a riveting multiplayer system. You know, if you look back at Honkai Impact, you can do missions together, and it's somewhat better-ish, I guess, but not overly, because you're always, you know, going back to the lobby, going out for the mission, going back to the lobby, going out for the mission. Genshin, you know, you're not getting jack for doing it with your friends. You know, and certain things you can't do while playing multiplayer, which again is stupid to me. Like, I'm not saying my friends should be able to jump in and like one-shot the story bosses, but I do think, you know, on certain story elements, you know, your friends should be able to come in and help you. Or, you know, it's just, I wish they structured it differently. Because again, I go back to like PSO2, you can be in a team and do the entire story mode together. Like, well, it's not really story mode, but you can do story quests together. There's certain ones that you have to do by yourself because they are very cutscene heavy. But other than that, you know, as you're filling out the matterboard, that's all stuff you can do with friends. Certain story quests you can do with friends because you need to complete certain, you know, side task in order to unlock it. That is what I want. That is what, like, I feel Mihoyo just continuously drops the ball because there are multiplayer events within the game, and some of them are great. The tower defense is fucking fun, but you know what really pisses me off? Well, the tower defense is fun. Then you have, like, Prop Hunt, which was actually pretty fun. I had fun dicking around on it that night. But you couldn't play with friends. That was the thing that really pissed me off, is the Prop Hunt, whatever they called it, you could not match with your friends and get rewards. Like, you had to play with randoms. And it's so stupid. You keep trying to market this game as, like, a game you can play with your friends. But when you immediately take away the rewards of playing with friends overall, then what's the fucking point? And the worst thing is these multiplayer events are time limited. So if you had a buddy who's just super busy this week that can't do the event at all with y'all, now mind you, events tend to run for a little while, so, you know, this one's more of a gripe than a actual complaint. But if for whatever reason your friend can't do the tower defense with y'all, it's just like, alright, well, it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. And that's so fucking stupid. And like, the worst part of it is, and again, this is another strike against Genshin as a multiplayer game, some of these multiplayer events are locked by story progression, which to me is the stupidest shit ever. Because if you want people to get into this game, you need to at least give them some kind of way to play with friends who are much higher up. Like, if you are making the only multiplayer events locked behind progression, I'm not going to play your fucking game. Like, I'm going to be entirely real. There's another game that I'm probably going to download once I'm done with podcasts. It's called Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. It just recently came out on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, I want to say. Pocky and Rocky is a Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance kind of bullet hell-esque game where, you know, you're basically on the, like, you have all, you know, free reigns of motion. You know, imagine, I'm trying to think of a similar game, like Blaster Master. You know, if any of y'all have ever played that one, that it became popular for a little while. But the top-down-esque, you know, isometric, I don't really have a good way of describing it. Basically, you're running around and bullets are flying at you everywhere. Like, imagine Toho, except, you know, you can get hit. So there's a shit ton more bullets. Well, shit ton unpatterned bullets. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it, you know, for people to give it a shot. I want to say it's on the eShop, or the online, like the Super Nintendo console, but I don't think it, now that I've said that, I don't think it is. I'm trying to remember how I last played it. Anyway, doesn't really matter. This is the remaster of it. It's apparently a new game-ish. Different enough that it's good enough to stand off on its own, but, not, it's kind of like a remake of the first game. The thing that's really cool is it's 2-player. But the thing that really isn't is you have to have 10,000 coins or whatever in order to unlock, buy and unlock 2-player, which on the Super Nintendo versions, you had naturally. You just plugged in a second controller and picked, either Pocky or Rocky. And that's it. And then when the second game came out, you have more characters. But it's just like, all right, you have to spend this time with this game in order to unlock the ability to play with people. And it's just like, that to me just kind of pisses me off because, these games are marketed as multiplayer games. You should have the ability to make playing with a second person worthwhile. Like, imagine if in Cuphead you had to be up to, World 2, Inkwell Isle 2 in order to do 2-player. And then you still had to go back and do all the run and gun stages to get your friend to collect the coins and go on from there. That's kind of how it feels like at times. Speaking of which, if you haven't played the Delicious Last Course, the Cuphead DLC, I hear it's super amazing and I really want to play it myself. Maybe I will play that on stream one day. But, okay, maybe this is starting to evolve away from, just Genshin, but like multiplayer, like modern multiplayer games. Because here's another thing that pissed me off. So, another game that came out recently is Klonoa, the fantasy, I think it was fantasy, or Phantasm collection, whatever. I love Klonoa. I think Klonoa is one of the most underrated platformers from the early PlayStation days. Klonoa has, is another one that started on PlayStation, had a couple of Game Boy Advance games, actually had a Wonder Swan game, believe it or not. It was ported to Wii. All in all, is a really good game. But they added a multiplayer function. And this, it's just so stupid to me how their multiplayer function, the way they expect somebody else to play this game with you, is you get to control Hupo. Hupo is Klonoa's wind spirit friend. Hupo allows Klonoa to inflate enemies, pick them up over his head, and either use them as a secondary, like a double jump, or you can use them as a weapon to attack people. You get to play as Hupo, as player 2, and you know what you get to do as Hupo, my dear listeners? You get to fucking get a high jump. And that's it. You get a high jump that recharges every 5 seconds. I think that's the stupidest fucking thing. Now, mind you, when it comes to Klonoa 2, which is packaged in the same thing, maybe you get to do more. But I just hate that, you have all these new modern games, like Mario Odyssey is another one that comes to mind, that player 2 gets to control Cappy. That's cool, I guess. I'm sure it allows for, more technical type speedrun-esque things, where it's I'm sure there's a 2-player Mario speedrun, but I wish that, more, the fucking Bowser's Fury, when you got to play as Bowser Jr., Bowser Jr. didn't get to do jack. Player 2 keeps getting shafted to some degree, where it's I guess it's good for your kid brother or kid sister who wants to play video games with you. It's yeah, I get to control the character doing all the cool things, and you can kind of maybe assist me. It's so stupid, man. I think back to, was it Mario Galaxy, where player 2, you got to shoot starbits. That's you got to collect starbits, shoot starbits, and hold enemies. I hope you're having a fun time, man. I hate shoehorned multiplayer. I feel like Genshin, to circle it all back, is another one of those instances where it's shoehorned multiplayer. The game was clearly not built around having, multiplayer built in. And the thing that just kind of blows my mind is Genshin is a global phenomena. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When a new banner comes out, they make so much fucking money. Hell, I think in just the Kazuha, the most recent banner, the day one of that, I think they made he's almost the highest selling gacha, or rather pool since the game's come out. I think he's currently only being beat out by the original Venti run, or the original Venti rerun. And it makes sense, because, Venti changes how the game's played. Kazuha allows you to change how the game's played. You get a free Klonoa jump, where you get just, shot up into the air, and fucking Kazuha is strong as hell. But, it just blows my mind that these games are pretty much, global phenomena, but multiplayer's just shoehorned in. It still blows my mind that Mihoyo, despite having this massive player base, does not do more to make playing together with friends worth it. I think, yes, it is obviously important to keep your whales happy, in any gacha game, because that's how that's your bottom line to some degree. You want to keep that 5% that's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every pool trying to get, C6 Kazuha, to all of them, yeah, keep them happy. But wouldn't it make sense to some degree to make it so that way, you can bring in new players more easily? Honestly, I may just change the title from Eula to EULAs to why multiplayer games suck, and here's some IT shit on the side. God, I'm sorry. It's one of those things where also real quick. I hate the fact that you can't play with friends cross server. I think that's the stupidest fucking thing. Again, I think back to PSO2. If you have, even Final Fantasy does this, if you have a character on a different server, you can pay X amount of money to transfer that character over to a new server. Usually it's $5. It's something small. Genshin doesn't allow you to do that. Nor does Genshin allow you to play with your friends across different servers. I would have loved to keep being able to play with my NA account because, I'm almost done with Leeway in my NA account. I'm still way behind, but at least I was getting places. But now I have my Asia account, which is probably better built, but because I actually understand part of what I'm doing now, because my sweet girlfriend just keeps carrying me and telling me what I need to do, and I really appreciate her when it comes to this. I love you, baby. But I can hear her now. If we're in the car listening to this together, she's probably like, "Oh my god, shut up." What's funny though? Real quick, side tangent again. We were listening to the last episode. I hadn't taken a chance to, because I tend to listen to my own episodes after they're published, just so I can get a feeling of, how did that episode sound? Was it good? What kind of things do I need to work on? So on and so forth. Do I think it's an entertaining episode? Because I think as a content creator, you should be able to watch your own stuff or hear your own stuff and be like, okay, I did this well, or I need to improve on this. So, oftentimes we'll listen to it together. But I was driving her home last night, and she got to the point, because she had already listened to it before me. And she's like, yeah, at some point you're talking about, work-life balance, and then you're like, oh, and I know if we're listening to this in the car together, I know you're nodding your head, this kind of thing. And she hit it. She's like, yes, I am. And then I added on to it. I'm like, and then I'm probably saying something along the lines of, I'm working on it, something. And I just mirrored it at the same time. So hearing me in surround sound, just I'm sorry, I'm working on it. It was funny as fuck. But anyway, I wish I could carry over my progress from NA and be able to play with my girlfriend who's on the Asia server. I know a lot of people would play Genshin with me if I was on the same server with them. And it's am I going to go back to my NA account? No, I think that's stupid. Because I already had to restart my progress. I might as well pave a path through one server that I want to play on than, keep going back and forth and doing the same story beats. Or, I don't get why there isn't cross-server progression. Like, I still don't understand, and nobody's been able to give me a good explanation as to why, progress can't be universal. You are using the same account to log in. You're just choosing a different server. I don't know. It's just stupid to me. And to some degree, I understand it as an IT guy. I can, understand that the save data and all is sitting on a in a storage on this side of the world versus another side of the world. But, I know a lot of people would transfer their accounts if they could, just to play with friends they've met online, from the Genshin community. And I think that should be the number one thing on their, next roadmap. Will they ever do it? Probably not, because they're making bukus of money. They don't give a shit. Honestly, I would not be surprised if Genshin never finished. I would not be surprised if, progress or focus shifted to the new game that they have coming out, which I'm hopeful will have better multiplayer. I doubt it, based on their track record. But, maybe, just maybe we'll actually have solid multiplayer in a Mihoyo, or whatever they want to call themselves, Mihoyo-verse, whatever, game. But speaking of servers, this is actually a pretty good transition period to go into more of the IT conversation. So, you got to hear all about how I felt about Genshin Impact. And, I kind of want to carry on the conversation from last week, where we talked about whether or not IT was right for you. And this time, I kind of want to go more into some of the things you can experience working in IT, both the good and the bad. And I'm gonna be kind of unveiling part of the production here. I'm gonna try and, I don't want to say burn through these points, because my time to record's running a little bit short. Right now it is 8:40 p.m. I gotta be able to get out and get my girlfriend. So, again, if there's something I don't cover here, and you want me to cover in a future episode, please, please, please feel completely okay with sending me an email at PlumesCast@gmail.com. That email again, PlumesCast@gmail.com. Just because there are going to be things that I don't cover, and I want to know what things you guys want me to cover. And of course, if you come up during the Twitch stream and you're like, hey, can you talk more about this in the next episode? I'll 100% write it down. IT, as I've explained, before, is a complicated field. It isn't easy for people to get into. So if you need me to break something down and go more in depth, hey, what kind of things can I expect going into school for IT? I can do that for you. Just let me know. But anyway, I wanted to start with the good things, because I want to, even though the bad is coming, I want to paint IT in a great light, because overall, most IT jobs are really good, depending on who you work with. And that's kind of a, disclaimer. Your mileage may vary depending on what field you work in. Some people are going to go in and absolutely love their jobs just because of the field they work in. Other people are going to hate them because, the same reason. But to start off, a variety of industries, like I was saying, need IT. Especially nowadays in this current pandemic world. Just real quick side thing. Every morning, right? And every night I read the news. I have a feed on my phone that I can just quickly read through. It has stories relevant to me. But I read through, maybe once, twice, 3 times a day. And I recently saw that, COVID-19 is surging again in my state. I'm just like, really? Really? Bro, we're in year 3 of this. It feels like maybe year 2. And we're still dealing with this shit. You would think at this point people would realize, hey, these are the things we need to do. But surprisingly enough, I have heard jack crap from, any of our elected officials to say, hey, you need to mask up. Or, hey, we're putting these restrictions temporarily back in place, or hey, we're mandating work from home for X amount of weeks just to make sure. Man, this shit is so wild to me. No, you know what we're getting? All right, I promise I'll get back to IT after this. But we actually have something known as the Southern Slowdown coming through in a couple of days. And if you don't know what that is, my friends from the northern states, which, by the way, KO, if you're listening, fuck you for being just outside the range. But here's what the Southern Slowdown is. The Southern Slowdown is an initiative by the police force of all these states. I think it's everywhere under North Carolina is basically on the docket for this. Across to Texas, I want to say. Texas might be in there, I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, it's a bunch of states that are doing their best to, enforce speed limits. Because if you've ever traveled to the southeast of, the United States of America, people drive a little fast here. Most people, myself included, will go about 5 over at times. Except in, residential areas. Because there's just a lot of spacious areas at times. But you have idiots who are driving, 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 miles per hour faster than the speed limit. I know a good few roads just off the top of my head that people are routinely going 30, 40 over. Like the road I'm thinking of, the speed limit's 45. I've clocked somebody easily going 85 because they're going twice the speed I'm going. And it's like, I understand why they're doing this Southern Slowdown, but the whole thing is if you are even going remotely over the speed limit, you could get pulled over and get a ticket. Which is the stupidest thing to me. There are so many other things we need to focus on. But no, we're going to take a week of all things. The thing that just really makes me mad is, again, this is kind of like the multiplayer thing. It's half-assed. You think a week's worth of slowing people down is going to change anything? The second people don't see the police on the road, they're going to speed the fuck right back up. I was driving home with the Fox wife last night. We were talking amongst ourselves, laughing, having a good time as we do, as I tried to energize. Sorry, inside joke between us. But trying to give my tired girlfriend some love and some care after a long day of work. And this fucker drives, in a Dodge. This dude flies by going easily 100 down the highway, racing somebody on a bike. Racing somebody on a motorcycle. These people are dodging and, diving through traffic. I am amazingly surprised nobody got hurt. Because the way some of these racers come through here, they absolutely come close to sideswiping people. We saw somebody on the side of the road the other day, they had crashed into the median. They were going way too fast, lost control of the car, swerved headfirst into the median, and the thing caught fire and blocked 3 or 4 lanes. Yes, is the initiative needed? For sure, but if you're going to do it, make it a permanent thing. Because people are just going to go back to doing what they do once the week's over. It's stupid to me. Anyway. To tie this all back into IT, people are going to do stupid things like this. You know what I'm immediately thinking of when it comes to initiatives? And this is one of the bad things. But, not even clarifying this is bad, is because that has its own section later on. But after a major event happens in your company, you're going to get maybe a week of people, trying to do the right thing. A week of people trying to, enforce all these stupid rules that really don't matter, because once that week's done, it's free game again. The thing that immediately, I think of is, say, for example, you work for a child company of a big parent company, and the parent company comes through for a surprise visit. The parent company sees that your workers are on YouTube and Facebook and all, so they go to the IT team and they're like, hey, you need to turn off access to X, Y, and Z while the people are here. You know, just because productivity isn't high enough. And some of them may actually come after you and grill you like, oh, well, why wasn't this already blocked prior to, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you can, as an IT admin or whatever you are, go up to them and be like, hey, you know, I notice a lot of people are getting malware and phishing links and all this shit from these websites, like being on Facebook and all. They're clicking on links that people are randomly sending them. Because let me finish this and then I'll back up and explain why, you know, Facebook and Reddit and everything else may not be the safest thing to go on while at work hours. Do I do it? Yeah, for sure. I fucking use Reddit all the time at work because it's a good source of information at times. But anyway, you have these people that are clicking on these malicious links that are being sent to them from LinkedIn, from Facebook. Maybe we need to block these. And they'll respond with, well, you know, if we do that, we are restricting the ability to communicate with the outside world, and blah, 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 blah. Which translates to, well, then I have to stop using Facebook, and then I actually have to start doing work. So, no. And it's just, then, you know, you have the parent company come through. They're like, why are all these people on Facebook? You know, we have customers that need to be answered. Like, this is part of the reason why the phones, you know, aren't getting answered, so on and so forth. And then these managers who have the fire under their ass are like, we need to block Facebook. We need to block YouTube. We need to block X, Y, and Z. You know, this is terrible. Why haven't you done this before? And just, not saying I've lived through that, but I may have. And it's one of those things where, you know, you have these people that come raging with this fire underneath them to make a change that's temporary. And then, you know, after the week is over and the higher-ups are gone or they're satisfied, they come back into your office. Hey, I know we blocked Facebook to, you know, to appease the higher-ups, but, is there any way I could have that back? Like, I really need to get this file to somebody, and I only really have them on Facebook, so can you make an exception to the rule for me? And it's just, it's stupid. It is entirely stupid. Because then you have people trying to bend the rules, and then it's like, why do we even have the rules in place? And, you know, some organizations will be like, you know what, just kill the rule. Until the next accident happens, and then you go through the whole cycle again. I promise you guys, IT is a great position, but there's some frustrating things about it that you'll probably carry with you. You know, I love being young in an IT because I can go up to my friends who are curious about it, and I can go to you guys, and I can just be completely realistic with you and be like, this is what you're probably going to see, just as a heads up. If you're not prepared for that, you know, time to find a different field. But, you know, this kind of ties back to one of the good things about IT, though, is that you'll always be challenged. Like, there's very few days in which you can go in and do nothing all day. Like, yeah, you will have some days like that where, you know, there's no tickets coming in, your projects are all caught up for the time being, like you're waiting for some projects to get approved along and, you know, so on and so forth. But, you know, and like no one bothers you. I know certain IT techs, I'm not going to name them by name on here, that will go in, and if it's one of those days, they'll just sit and, you know, dick around on their phone. Or, you know, it's funny, the guy I replaced at my company, instead of, you know, trying to better himself into the position, you know, he would stream on Twitch in the office during work hours and talk to chat. Like, I genuinely am curious how this fucker got it. Like, he stayed at the position I'm in for over a year and a half. And he did this on the often. And people, like, when people had issues, they couldn't find him. And he still kept his job for a long time. Now, mind you, our company is very hard to get fired from. The only reason he got fired was because the CEO had a iPhone issue. He left his iPhone with IT Tech, and IT Tech didn't touch it for over a week. In fact, CEO came looking for, IT tech, and IT tech had left the phone in the exact position a week later. So CEO told him to pack his shit and go. Meanwhile, if, CEO comes into my office and is like, hey, I'm having this iPhone issue. Fuck, man, I drop near everything I'm doing. Or I'll be like, hey, can I come over your way in like 15 minutes? I'm in the middle of something and I just need to get to a stopping point. 9 times out of 10, he's pretty cool about like, oh yeah, come by whenever, it's fine. That's why I love my job to a great extent. I love the people that I work with. There are certain times where like they say something that gets a little under my skin, and I don't think they really realize that what they say got under my skin. But like, perfect example, I'm walking to my car, it's like 3 o'clock. I hadn't gotten lunch yet, because I was just incredibly busy. I had a 2 o'clock that went for an hour when it was only supposed to go for 30 minutes. And I was really hungry. I was going to do my QT special, which is like 4 taquitos and a drink. Because I didn't pack my lunch. Like, usually either Juju or I will pack my lunch for the day ahead. And I think the night before we had pizza bites for dinner. So just because we were both kind of tired, we were out late. So it was just like, we wanted something quick to eat. So I didn't have anything to bring into lunch. And so 3 o'clock rolls by, and I realize I still haven't eaten. And the HR lead leaves at 3. She tends to come in super early, I think like 6, 7 o'clock, and will leave at 3 o'clock. And so we're walking out basically at the same time, and she's like, oh, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get some lunch at QT. And she's like, lunch at 3 o'clock? And I'm like, yeah, no, I've been incredibly busy. Like, because my boss was out of the office for the day, so a bunch of his work trickled onto me. And, I had this meeting that I had to be in, so I couldn't, really dance between, my responsibilities and sneaking out for a day, or sneaking out for an hour. But I was just like, okay, I just need this food. And she's like, well, you should pack lunch. I think packing lunch would be a good idea. And I looked at her, I'm like, I tend to pack lunch at least 3 days out of the week. I bring leftovers in. And she's like, oh, really? I've never seen you bring lunch. And I'm like, yeah, no, I cook. Juju cooks. I bring food in pretty often. You see me walk by your office with my lunchbox in the morning and in the afternoon when it's time to eat. And she's like, well, some people keep frozen food in the freezer, and just in case you ever need it, you should get some frozen food, like those frozen meals you can just toss in the microwave, and just toss them in there just in case you ever need them. And I played it off as a joke. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'll get some Chef Boyardee. I'll keep a couple of cans in the office with a bowl. I was just like, I know I must have made a face because I was hungry and I was tired. I wasn't getting towards hangry territory, but I was getting close. And that, that's just one of the things you'll deal with working in any position. Sometimes the people you work with, especially if there's a significant age gap, will try and mentor you in ways that you don't need to be mentored. I was just like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to save money. The economy's shit, and I'm trying to buy a house one day. One day. But anyway, so like I said, you'll always be challenged in IT. It is a field in which, every day can be vastly different. Like I said, you can have the easy days, or you can have the days where you are, balls to the walls running around, trying to solve different problems and projects. You have reports that are due to the higher-ups at this time, so on and so forth. Hopefully, the majority of your days aren't like that. But in the same breath, your days can always be challenging. It can be extremely stressful. There are days, like today for me, when you have to cancel your plans because you ultimately have, things that you're responsible for. It sucks, but that is kind of the nature of the business. When things go wrong, you are the first person that may be called. Are you prepared for that? You know? And unfortunately, your work-life balance kind of takes a hit because, and like some people will be like, oh, if you go into IT, your work-life balance is going to be great. No, it absolutely is going to be shit at times because the things you need to do, like the server updates and, you know, swapping over like different machines, so on and so forth, people are going to either fight you on it or you need to do it outside of hours, you know, working hours, because, you know, you're going to take down the entire system to do it. So, really, the people that get to work in the office, that clock in at 8 and end at 5, like, they don't have to really answer their emails afterwards. They don't need to do anything else. You, on the other hand, need to have your phone on you near constantly. God forbid, you know, somebody get into your system, your intrusion detection system, or service, or whatever the hell you want to call it, goes off, and it pings your phone like, hey, if you're not paying attention to that, that could be your entire business up in an evening, depending on how big and how bad they want to be. You know, so your work-life balance could absolutely go down the shitter. It's the unfortunate truth of things. You know, and like I said, it happened to me today. It happened to me somewhat yesterday. Now, mind you, I was working from home, but I had, you know, some plans because I was basically done with work for the day pretty early in the day, like probably around 2, 3 o'clock. I was going to eat lunch, and then I was going to work on things for stream, you know, just because everything that I needed to really worry about was on time. Like, I was actually ahead of schedule on certain things. Now, because of certain events, I kind of have to step up on one of my projects and try to get things done as quickly as possible. But that, again, is one of the rubs of IT. You can have a complete colossal failover, and you need to get projects that were going to be expedited or pushed away until the end of the year. Well, now they need to be done like next week. Figure it out. Thankfully, you know, in my personal example, it's nothing like that. It would be preferred if I can do something like that, and I'm going to bust my ass. Like, Monday stream, when you see me, I might be exhausted. I'm giving you all the heads up now. But I'm taking this weekend prior to kind of just detox, relax. Like I said, I got to hang with my friends today, even though it was only online. And then I have a nice date day with Juju tomorrow. I'm finally getting my hair cut after a couple of months. And I get to see a couple more friends tomorrow night as we hang out at the pool. Like, that'll be really nice. I'm excited for that. But, anyway, you know, and that's kind of a takeaway of this entire IT conversation too, is you need to, which, by the way, real quick. I am sorry if you hear background noise. Aki has woken up and she is on her crackhead shit energy. And every now and again she just knocks her baby around in here. I don't think, in fact, she's right at the chair next to me. Because I pull up her chair, like I have a second office chair that Juju usually uses. But she just brought one of her babies in and she just starts batting it around her chair. Because she'll sleep up in it. It's really cute. So I appreciate being able to, like, look over and there she is sleeping. I'll reach over and scratch her head. It's cute as shit. I love this fucking cat. She's a little demon at times, but she's my little demon. And, you know, that's how I feel like I'm going to be with it when it comes time to have kids. But anyway, I apologize for any noise that you hear. As I was saying, though, you need to, in this field, have clear boundaries about what is yours and your time. Like, my boss the other day took a day off middle of the week just because he needed it. Like, he'd been busting his ass doing finance stuff, so on and so forth, and now it is he just needed a day, so he went and he did it. I'm gonna try and do the same, you know, coming up in a couple of weeks-ish, like the end of the month. I'd like to take 2 days off, just because I have been inheriting this massive security undertaking by the mother company, And honestly, I could use a bit of a break too. Jesus Christ, that cat is going insane out there. She's coming to the door. I think she knows I'm talking about. Nope, she's smacking away her toy gyoza. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. I apologize if you can hear any of this. I'm actually, like, relatively surprised at times when I listen to a recording. And, like, I know at specific times when... Oops, sorry. That was her knocking the door. But I will hear at times when a car will come flying by and their music will be pounding, and I'll remember that specific, like, timestamp area. I'm like, I wonder if I'll hear it. And I don't hear it. So I don't know if you'll hear the door creaking. I don't know if you'll hear her slam into the box or anything else. Like, she is such a wild child in the sense that, like, if I shut the door and I just try to do the recording with the door closed, she'll start pawing underneath the door and, like, start tearing up the carpet because she wants attention. You know, she wants to be in the same room as me. Unless she's playing with herself, then she just kind of jumps around the apartment and has a good old time. And then usually, you know, when I see her playing, I'll grab one of her toys and I'll sit out there with her and just bat stuff around. But anyway, all that to say, back to what I was talking about. In fact, there's a little demon right now. She is smacking at the door, even though the door is opened. What are you doing, Aki? Okay, there she goes. You know, I love the fact, real quick, before I finish off topic, I love the fact that you guys love her as much as I do. Like, being able to have cat cam on the cooking stream just while I was finishing up the meal was just super relaxing, and I had a lot of fun with it. So maybe I will look into, you know, establishing cat cam for other streams as well. But that said, you know, you need to have in IT a clear definition of your time, your hobbies, your, like, unless it's a fucking emergency, don't call me time. Because at the end of the day, what people don't realize is you are a person. Like, one thing I strive for every communication that I have with my coworkers is they don't call me to say, hey Seth, how's it going? Every time I answer the phone and I have their phone contact saved, I'm like, you know, name, how's it going? I try and make light of the conversation before any of this starts. Because I know they're calling me because they're having an issue. You know, very few times, now mind you, some of my coworkers absolutely make it a habit to come by and see me every now and again and just shoot the shit. And I really appreciate that. Like, those are the people that I genuinely really enjoy working with. Just because, like, I work with technology all day. I don't get a whole bunch of human interaction. So, which sucks for me because I'm a people person. I am probably the, like, as weird as it is to say, the biggest outlier to IT that there ever was or ever will be, because I like having conversations. I like talking with people. That's why I do stream too, and I do the podcast, because it allows me to actually be able to have, like, full-on conversations, even though y'all ain't listen, or y'all just listening at this point, and I'm just blowing off like steam for an hour plus. I appreciate it because these ideas and, like, these topics will sit in my head for so long, and just having the release, being able to talk about things with y'all, it means a lot to me. And I love doing, you know, the different streams, like doing gaming streams. That's my time to play games and talk with people. I love that. When it's cooking streams, y'all get my attention almost 90% of the time. You know, unless I'm, like, focusing on, you know, a certain element, like I have to keep my eyes down on something, I will look up and chat as much as I can. In fact, I'm looking into getting pop socket holders across the apartment. Or not across the apartment, in the kitchen. Either I'm going to get one of those standing ones that have, like, the tripod underneath it and you just slap your phone up top. So that way I keep my phone away from, you know, the bubbling oil and the ingredients and shit, and I can read chat more easily. Or I'm just going to get some wall-mounted ones and just slap them up there, because it'd be cheaper to do that. I just wouldn't have the ability to move them around as much as I'd like to. But anyway, I really, like, that's the thing, is you need to have these moments in time where you get to be you. You get to take off the IT HUD, because when your coworkers come up to you, they may not treat you like a person at times. They treat you as a problem solver. You are there to fix their issues. And some people will just come into my office and be like, hey, Seth, so I have this issue. And it's just like, no, we like, I will get on people's asses about that. Like, I had, back in a previous life, I had somebody that would knock, open the door, and be like, I'm having this issue. And I'm like, okay, no, close the door, come back in, and say hello first. Like, I understand what my job role is. I understand that a lot of the time I'm doing behind the curtain stuff that you guys should hopefully never see. When you guys do see what I'm doing, I try and make a joke of it. Like, I had to take down a server the other day, and just for a little while, just because we were having hard drive issues with it, and I needed to get it replaced real fast, toss it back in so the VM could continue on. It was a long, complicated thing. It actually wasn't that bad, but it was like back up in an hour or so. But anyway, people were like, oh, do you know this is down? And like, I made a joke. Like, people would call for like, I had maybe 30 minutes worth of phone calls of people being like, hey, do you know this is down? So I'd answer the phone. I'm like, hello, this is Seth. Are you calling about, X server having this issue? I'm well aware, but guess what? You're caller number 3. If you were caller number 7, you would get a $50 gift card to Chili's. Try again next time. And they would laugh. Like, that's another thing too about IT, is people may not treat you like a human, but you need to treat people like they're humans. Like, again, I've brought up the subreddit before, but if you go on to sysadmin, some people just are dehumanized. They don't have the social skills to be able to be like, oh yeah, no, this is another person. This isn't just a dumb user. This is a person with feelings and thoughts and a family, So you get people that like call up about an issue and they'll be like, yeah, I'm working on it. Hang up. Or they won't even answer. They'll just hang up on them. And it's just, I strive to have strong communication, not only with my, boss, but with the rest of my company, because I want people to know, hey, if you're experiencing this weird issue, come to me. Now, that said, people will absolutely fight you on some of the choices you make. I have a couple of users that are so bullheaded about letting me use their machine, like to fix it, that they'd rather go through an entire disk check at times. Like, I have one user that's continuously getting a blue screen. And I'm like, you need to leave that machine with me for X amount of time so that way I can get you working. Like, I have a loaner machine that I can program for you. If all your stuff is in the cloud, this will be like turning on the machine, and there you go. You're off to the races. And when you're done, keep saving everything to the cloud, and wow, it's on your old computer. Crazy. And you're just like, I'm really busy. I need this. I don't have time. And I'm like, well, I can't proceed down the line of getting you a new machine if that's what we need to do if you don't allow me the chance to fix it. And that's a common issue, I have another person that's kind of in the same boat where, his graphics card was so out of date, it was causing blue screens and making his computer unresponsive at times. I'm like, all right, look, you go to lunch, you leave your computer with me. It will be fine when he gets back. I give it back to him. I get it fixed and I give it back to him. Because that's the thing about blue screens. Like, here's something for the non-IT people, is if you look on a blue screen down at the bottom, there is a QR code, and right next to it, there is an error code. If you search up that error code, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find what is causing it and what you can do to fix it. Sometimes it's an immediate, like, oh, hey, this specific error code goes to this specific piece of Windows software. Update this. And then it's done. Like, for as smart as computers are, they are incredibly stupid. And they need a human element to go in and fix sometimes, because they can't fix it themselves. Same thing with users at times. some users are incredibly smart, but there's certain things that they, refuse to acknowledge until you go in and force the fix yourself. And bada bing, bada boom, they're working much better. And, here's another thing that you might get fought on. I recently bolstered our security, okay? I recently went through and I made the VPN mandatory because our mother company was worried about that kind of stuff. And we had one in place. People weren't always using it, so we brought certain aspects of their, daily workflow behind the VPN to be like, hey, you need to be on this. I got so many phone calls from people trying to use the expense manager who were like, oh, well, this is taking an extra 5 minutes for me to put in information. How could you? With all due respect, I told them multiple times, I'm like, look, we can go about this in different ways. We can solve this in many different ways. But the thing is, this was a mandatory change that needed to happen. Y'all weren't playing by the rules I put in place. Now I had to enforce them. If it makes that big of a difference to you that your day by day is absolutely ruined by the, series of steps, like the standard operating procedure, the SOP on, entering expenses, then y'all need to look at how you enter them and come up with a new way to do it. Because I can test connecting to the VPN all day and all night. I guarantee you it takes less than 30 seconds. You know why? Because I spent hours and days programming something that would work flawlessly. That kind of shuts them up at times. You tell them you do what you can do. Because some people are like, well, I still don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, then you need to be in the office. You want to drive 30 minutes to put in all your expense? There you go. Because, people are going to fight you. In some of these things, you need to put your foot down. I'm saying this more so for myself than y'all, but sometimes you need to put your foot down and be like, no, this is the way we need to do things. This is the way we should have been doing things. I don't know how we were continuing to operate the business. Similar to the porn story I was telling you way back when. We needed to make it so that way personal devices couldn't be on the VPN. Done. Or you needed to be on the VPN to access these things, and because you're on the VPN, you can't access these torrenting sites. Done. Shit is absolutely wild at times. I love my job field. I love my career. I love everything I've done up to this point. I truly do think IT is one of the best fields to be in. But there are times when things are going to make you upset. And I just hope, either if you are in it, if you are developing into it, if you are, wanting to even begin pursuing it, even as a hobby, I hope you take my conspicuous words of advice and say, yes, I have this hard set rule. I 99.9% of the time will tell people, do not call me between the hours of 7 and 9. I'm doing something. Or, if I'm streaming and somebody calls, I'm like, hey, if this is an emergency, we can talk. If not, I'm in the middle of something, I won't be free until 9 o'clock. Can we work at this tomorrow? Because again, and I can't stress this enough, and this can be said for any job. So here's your Plumes Pearl of Wisdom for today. You are, above all else, a human. You have your life to live. You don't work to live. Or you don't live to work. Wait. No. Yeah, wait. Whatever, you're not sold to the industry. You can walk out just as quickly. You have your own life. Live it. Company can replace you. No matter how great you think you are, a company will think they're better and can replace you. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Regardless of the fact, you need to live your life. Yes, you need to work to get your job and get money, but your life comes so much more before that. Because in this, there's countless songs about this, but let me tell you something. You will always have a computer to fix. but you may miss the graduation of somebody really important. That could have, been a really good family bonding moment. You could always reset a password, but you may not be there for a family member's wedding. You could always repair a server, but are you there for the day your child's born? You need to be able to put your foot down and say no, and you need to be able to live your life. Throughout all these IT episodes, I will force that down your throat, because that is one of the hardest concepts for people to understand. And once you understand it, you got it. Stay human, stay a person, stay a good employee. Do what you need to do, but know work, family, in quotations, is more important than you and your family. And that doesn't matter if it's your actual family or your family of friends. You come first in this world. Work can always come second. Anyway, that is all I gotta say. There's your words for advice tonight. I'm actually going a little bit longer than I was anticipating. So I gotta quickly end things off here and get in the car and go see my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girlfriend who is working her poor little butt off. But it is a nice ass. Anyway, guys, I do just want to say thank you all so much for being here. Remember, you can find me in the night skies across different platforms. You got PhantasmaPlumes on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can listen to PlumesCast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and soon to be YouTube. And you can email the show directly by sending it to PlumesCast@gmail.com. That email again is PlumesCast, PLUMESCAST @gmail.com. Thank you all so much for listening in, and as always, I'll talk to you again from the stars very soon. Until next time, everyone, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.